This video was made possible by sponsors like you. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. Oh boy, Halloween! It's that Scooby-Doo time of year, and seeing how I loved the last three Scooby movies, why shouldn't I love a Scooby movie set on Halloween? You got it all. Candy, costumes, monsters, Bill Nye, Elvira, Scarecrow from Batman. Yeah. What more could a Scooby-Doo fan ask for? It's a trilogy now. Terrible life choices be damned. Welcome back to Cartoon Corner. I'm WHYBOY, that's NERO.
Sup?
And you know me, I'm the Scooby-Doo Guy. I watch all the movies, peek at all the shows, and stay up to date on all the news. Is it because I'm a diehard fan of the franchise?
Oh, this sadness.
I really do appreciate that a 50-year-long running show is able to experiment and reinvent itself to somehow stay viable. It's that level of ingenuity that gives us returning staples of pop culture like TMNT, Transformers, and of course, Scooby-Doo. And now, we can discuss the most recent film at the time of this video. Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. The very first ever Scooby-Doo Halloween movie.
What about the Goblin King?
Okay, that was on Halloween, but what about the spooky Scarecrow? Okay, that one too, but doesn't Scoob start on Halloween? That's maybe like 12 minutes of that movie, and the rest is a train wreck. Looks like WHYBOY cares about Scooby-Doo just as much as WB does. Which is not at all. That's not true. I care a lot. I watch these movies every single year, and rope NERO into watching them too.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Second, what sets this film apart isn't Halloween. It's that it's a boring, unimaginative, and lifeless venture.
Fun.
No, quite the opposite, Harry. See, Happy Halloween is, if anything, an experiment on half-assing multiple concepts. And a golden rule you should follow in life is you should never half-ass multiple things. You should, if anything, whole-ass a single thing. I mean, just look at my ass. That's a fine ass, man.
The story of Happy Halloween takes place in Crystal Cove, where after Mystery Inc. stops vaguely famous Batman villain Scarecrow from blowing up and/or poisoning downtown Crystal Cove, his fear gas mixes with some toxic waste to mutate a local pumpkin patch into a race of violent mutants. Which, for some reason, the movie has to have Velma declare this is the dumbest monster this franchise has ever faced.
Fred, this is so dumb. It's the dumbest monster ever. It can't be real.
Yep, never been monsters dumber than monster pumpkins in Scooby-Doo.
Except for that time before this movie where they actually fought monster pumpkins.
Anyways, these stupid pumpkins attack the town, driving folks to either run away or lock themselves indoors.
Which is actually much more dangerous, as we'll see later.
And the game flees in a driving segment to solve the mystery of the mutant pumpkins. A driving segment that takes up a majority of the film's runtime, which might be because of studio crunch.
Maxwell Adams, the writer and director, brings that up in an interview, so it seems pretty apparent.
Now, you might be asking, how does a story like this directly follow the previous stories, one of which is a retcon sequel movie concluding a TV show, and the other a retcon sequel movie horribly bastardizing its original movie?
I mean, it kinda doesn't.
Guys, I don't care about that! I just want to know more about Bill Nye and Elvira in this movie! I love famous people in movies, they're so pretty and they smell good. Yeah, the writing and acting from Bill Nye and Elvira is enjoyable. They each have dynamic personalities for this sort of crossover. In fact, I'd argue they have great personas to easily headline their own Scooby-Doo movies, individually, instead of sandwiching both of them into one movie.
That's not gonna be a great sandwich. It's gonna probably just be overloaded and bland. Look, I don't mind Elvira written as motivation for Scarecrow, though that is completely messed up in the execution. Scarecrow does say at least twice he is a fan and did come to the parade for Elvira.
I did write her a fan mail, so technically I am both crazed and a fan.
And look, I get it. As fans, we want to show our explosive passion for what we enjoy. And Scarecrow wanted to do this too, by mass serial bombing Crystal Cove and potentially killing her in the process. I remember one time when I met Beethoven and I was like, oh man, your music's so good, you're my composer of choice. Then I dropped the bomb right there in the middle of the concert hall. Though the part that churns my guts is how Daphne's character gimmick for this movie is that she's a stalker. And that's not us interpreting that or up to conjecture. They lay that out on Front Street for us.
Wait, were you just trying to replace Elvira and take over her life?
She's done this before.
Don't make Daphne a bad person.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, don't go Teen Titans going Scooby-Doo.
And while Elvira works alright, I don't think that compares to how they mishandled Bill Nye. I mean, right out of the gate, they dropped the ball as Bill Nye just
It's Bill Nye!
phones in, and voila! He's known the game already, and they know him, no setup or anything.
So in this movie, Bill Nye does what?
He gives him a mystery machine.
Oh, to replace the one that they lost in the last two films, right.
No, Nero! You can't think of continuity in a trilogy, you silly Billy! They got that one off screen at the start of this movie.
Wait, what?
So in Curse of the 13th Ghost, the Scooby Gang sold the mystery machine because the sheriff threatened to arrest them for committing what is basically vigilantism.
Right.
Then in Return to Zombie Island, the mystery machine is gone, Fred is neurotic and horny about it missing, and then at the end, they say they'll get it back.
Okay.
Now, in Happy Halloween, they just have the van back, but it gets destroyed by Scarecrow literally right away, and so Bill Nye luckily happens to call, gives them a new one, which also gets destroyed.
Why even bring it back if it's gonna be destroyed again? And if it was gonna do that, why didn't they weave it in that Bill was making them a new one? Make him matter in terms of, the story, rather than making literally a throwaway plot point, invented specifically for this situation even though we had pre-existing plot points we could have worked off of.
Well, it doesn't help that Bill Nye is also barely in the movie and bails at the 40-minute mark. He just spouts exposition to the mystery and then pieces out. Aw, that sucks. Well, what about Scarecrow? That's a WHDC property from Batman. They must have done him justice, right?
Obnoxious. Scarecrow's just like you or me. He's a working class Joe. He likes scaring folks with no motivation outside of scaring folks. And he wakes up every morning, puts both feet on the floor, grabs a handful of straw, and shoves it right down into his butt crack, just like the rest of us. He's an everyman. Scarecrow is among the most iconic of Batman villains, easily the top 10. Mostly thanks to Bill Finger and to hell with Bob Kane. The guy that plays mind games and twists your perspective on the world with sheer terror. Frankly, he'd be ideal for a Scooby-Doo project.
But?
Oh, I got a but all right. How about this? This movie does such a laughable job of building him up. Scarecrow barely gets screen time since he has to share it with Bill Nye, Elvira, and a poorly implemented message about believing in friendship with Velma. Plus, the fact that his fear drones are taken out by a hippie using a dog as a gun, yet the film wants Scarecrow to be looked at as this dangerous, viable threat. You gotta call in the FBI, you gotta give him an isolated police transport to Arkham Asylum. Yet, the most amazing thing this character has ever achieved is get viciously beaten with a chair by Joker. And while I'm sick of Batman being this money crutch for Warner Brothers, since they really rely heavily on that IP to carry other properties, I honestly feel gypped that Batman doesn't show up. Call me greedy, but I feel like it would have been a nice reward to see Batman show up and thank Mr. Ink.
Batman, you're so cool.
You guys are such wet blankets. If you hated this movie so much, why'd you even watch it? Oh,
Now here's something. Sometimes there's nothing better than spending your hard-earned money and relinquishing an hour plus of your life that you'll just never get back.
why, that's every viewer's ideal experience, isn't it? To waste time, money, only to end up bored or angry? You guys are too sarcastic.
You're out of order, you popkin.
What? It's why we're talking about the crossover elements first. Scooby's ability to experiment is limitless, be it with going to space, hang out with Kiss.
Or making a racially insensitive mess.
Oli! The idea that this was the first multi-property crossover movie.
Technically, Scoob was that. And we all know how that went. Click available links.
My point is that Scooby is a remarkably versatile property. While there is a minor seed of brilliance planted in this movie, that seed is not well grown.
Much like the concept of mutant monster pumpkins.
Oh, because this could have been Scooby-Doo's answer to Splatterhouse Horror, right?
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, wasn't. See, for a lot of folks, Halloween is a comfort zone of fright. Gore and viscera, it's celebrated as antics of the horror genre. The pumpkins were a perfect way past the censors for good old-fashioned Evil Dead-style splatstick violence. You could smash them in so many creative ways, since in the end, it's just pumpkin goop. This movie could have taken advantage of that angle. Write the story as a throwback to old-fashioned zombie flicks, like Night of the Living Dead. You start off in a small town, the pumpkins are rising up and wreaking untold havoc, and then our heroes are driven to a last stand at a cabin in the woods.
Nero, that did happen. That's basically the plot points for this movie.
Well, then why is it so disappointing, man?
Because, unfortunately, the crude, gory sound that would make the joke hit home is missing to instead have canned Hanna-Barbera sound effects. Woo.
That and, is it just me? But this flick feels a lot like a regurgitation of Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween. You know the one, right? Jack-o'-lantern shows up, raises a pumpkin army, and then the pumpkins get all exploded at the end. Heck, actually come to think of it, Scarecrow in this even kinda looks like Jack from that special.
It does sort of feel like Maxwell Adams took his 2003 special and just wedged Scooby-Doo into it.
Weaponized nostalgia is the way of the future, WHYBOY. You saw Scoob and most of Disney's current lot of films.
Maybe, but this is all just dancing around the main crux of the issues with Happy Halloween. Despite all the great ideas, it can't save a movie that on one level is a terribly structured mystery and the next is bending itself into a pretzel to be a trilogy story which does not work.
Let's set the scene. Scarecrow's attack on Crystal Cove was actually a setup by the true culprit. Now mind you, Scarecrow said he was there only to see Elvira and watch the Halloween parade.
I had no plans to attack Elvira or to do anything tonight other than watch the Halloween parade.
And Crane didn't even know about the mutant pumpkins, so he feels severely out of the loop on this caper.
Do you think this is all linked to the jack-o'-lanterns?
The what?
Heck, even the movie's acknowledging that all these connections seem utterly preposterous.
It's true that we do not seem to have anything in common.
Despite all the evidence that the movie itself is pointing out the narrative flaws of this story, here we are, with the culprit using Scarecrow's unsolicited attack as an impromptu distraction as a means to snatch lithium from the caverns underneath Crystal Cove, simultaneously setting up a scenario where Mystery Inc. is made to look like fools while Scarecrow takes the fall for the crime.
Explained like that, it actually sounds like a standard Scooby-Doo villain plan. So what's wrong with it?
Here's my reverse ask. What's right with it? Let's guess who's behind this caper, shall we? Is it the apparent 53rd best villain Scarecrow? Maybe it's Mike, some random guy who thanked Mystery Inc. that one time, and then just got entangled in the plot for no reason. Or maybe it's Sheriff.
Who's it?
That's an appropriate question, little dragon. See, it's so appropriate a question that even the movie acknowledges this.
Who is that?
That's right. But Sheriff who? You never bothered to ask.
Oopsie doops. I think we spoiled the mystery, Nero.
Oh no, and it was so well written. Like anyone cares.
Jeez, guys, you are being really sarcastic. It's a kid's mystery. Of course the bad guy would be more obvious to you. Oh, you misunderstand, Smolder. The problem isn't that the bad guy is obvious.
I mean, if anything, it's that the bad guy's too inconceivable.
Again, in terms of suspects, you have the Red Herring, a character who has no purpose being there, and the Sheriff. There is no other key characters in the movie to focus on, as the grand majority of the movie is Scooby-Doo a la Mad Max with non-stop driving. That's a weak lineup of suspects, even for a Scooby-Doo movie.
And there aren't really that many clues to point out to suspects. A key clue that is brought up are drones. These are used to carry Scarecrow's fear toxin and help animate the pumpkins to make them seem alive. The drones are developed by Toe Omnitech, a tech company which links the entire incident to Cutler Toe, the president of the company. Oh, no one knows who that is? Well, don't worry, because Sheriff's exposition here will give you a vivid buildup of who Cutler Toe is.
Ever since you kids unmasked the trash monster of Scranton, it's me who's been warning you not to mess with law enforcement.
Yep, the clue to link the sheriff to a culprit you never directly met is a mystery the game solved we never actually saw. Isn't that great?
No.
Now, for those into writing and story structure, blatantly obvious exposition like that sends up a red flag. As this clue does not tie into the context of the mystery, it's an exposition nugget to point out a character that the writer couldn't naturally integrate into the story. So it just shoves these characters in to make the viewer consider them as suspects even when they aren't there in the mystery. Like in Scooby-Doo 2002, where Velma reminisced about Scrappy, or Monsters Unleashed, where they talked about the pterodactyl ghost dying, escaping jail, or Monster in Mexico, where the gang just hang off Mr. Smiley's sign. All these scenes only serve as a quick setup to reveal the villain for later, instead of implementing multiple clues to make a mystery. Eso no es bueno. It's a lazy means to create a shortcut in the mystery, but, let me be fair. Unlike those three baddies, Sheriff had 2 previous movies, including this one, to connect and build up his character before this reveal.
And the sheriff said he was pulling the strings. So what did he even do in the last few movies? Hey, you little beatniks! Stop doing mysteries, or I'll arrest ya! Oh, go on vacation, you little beatniks. But no mystery solving, no. Yes, you're doing the mystery solving again, ain't ya? I'm gonna send you to jail.
But we wants to do mystery, Sheriff!
Well, I can't argue with that. You did a pretty good job catching the Scarecrow there, kids. Don't go this up, beatniks, and here's a picture of me.
But we caught Scarecrow, though.
Like I said, don't this up. Have a good one. Hey, drive the speed limit, you beatniks.
But what about the pumpkins?
The what? I got seats in my car.
Truly, we gave him a voice fitting for such a character.
And altogether, Sheriff has an on-screen time of 8 minutes and 42 seconds before his reveal.
You know what the issue there is?
Where would you like to start? Sheriff had 3 movies worth of time to characterize himself, and we didn't know his name until the 3rd movie?
That, and his on-screen time is comparable to Mike, who had 1 movie, and we spent the same amount of time with him than Sheriff in 3. Actually, we spent more time with Mike, and he doesn't do anything for the movie. Even if this was a planned trilogy.
And with several different directors and writers, that seems highly dubious at best.
They botched the delivery by not giving the sheriff any sort of urgency within the actual stories of these 3 movies. He feels like an afterthought, and unlike the other 2 Scooby movies, which are still bad movies in our opinion, both had solid foundations to structure their stories on. Mind you, they still retconned their stories to oblivion. This trilogy finale is based on a character that's just a ball of non-stop inconsistencies. The whole movie is jumping through hoops, trying to make the last two films work in continuity. You have the sheriff going from antagonistic to friendly to antagonistic again.
I tell you that you are breaking the law to wear down your confidence, and then tell you I supported you to build it back up.
The old hotsy-coldsy trick.
No, you macadamia nut, it's just bad writing. You're trying to connect two films that have no connection. What's wrong with you?
Nothing but net.
With a kid's mystery or an adult mystery, a mystery should have clues to help the audience reach a conclusion. That is the most basic structure of a mystery story. The inclusion of Sheriff destroys all that, as Happy Halloween does not have structure as a standalone movie, and certainly not as a trilogy finale. So you got a gag to end this review on?
Scarecrow murders the sheriff at the end, so it ain't all bad.
No!
That's Toe's car, all right. He couldn't have gotten far. Come on. It's not like someone could just swoop in and grab him.
He's dead now. Thanks for stopping by Cartoon Corner. Feel free to comment below and let us know what you thought of Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. And if you'd like to see more from ToonGrin, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all of our videos and projects. You can even follow us on our social media, join our Discord server to see what we're working on next, or support us by becoming a patron or getting a shirt from our shop. All links are in the description below, and as always, be sure to tune in to ToonGrin and have a happy Halloween.